In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we have a special guest, Per Sjofors, a renowned pricing strategist and best-selling author of The Price Whisperer. Per has been recognized as one of Inc. magazine's top 10 leaders, making a difference, and as a thought leader in leveraging AI for business growth, or at least looking at AI and seeing how it might help you with your business growth. With over 750 successful client engagements, he specializes in data-driven pricing strategies that significantly boost profitability and growth. In this episode, he will share his insights on how businesses can navigate the complexity of pricing in this AI landscape and how AI may or may not impact that. Thank you so much for taking some time to have a conversation with me.
Oh, Emanuel, it's a pleasure, of course, and I hope that the audience will learn something new, maybe, and benefit from our conversation.
Well, I'm grateful for your time, and I think pricing is often overlooked in terms of optimal pricing. And sometimes I've seen it a lot where companies will approach pricing just on a cost of goods basis and lose track of outcome orientation that you're tracking. So just explain to me a little bit about the foundation of your philosophy around pricing.
Well, first of all, and this is a marketing podcast, and we have to realize that pricing is one of the 4 P's of marketing, unbeknownst to many people. and we know that the all that you do, if think of the 4 P's as levers, right? If you push one of the 4 P's, the other 3 P's change.
Sure.
So you have to realize that pricing as part of the 4 P's of marketing is a lever, but unless the other 3 P's is focused on the same direction, it's going to fail. So and what I mean with that is that from a company's point of view, they have to know what a customer category or persona or avatar, whatever you're more comfortable calling it, will support more profitable prices at more and higher sales volume than other personas. So you can target your marketing correctly. You have to know how the features and functions and benefits of your product or service affects the customer's willingness to pay, and therefore your ability to set prices that are more profitable at higher sales volume. And you have to know what marketing channels and what marketing messages drives a higher willingness to pay at more profitable prices, and so forth. And the same goes for sales and monetization strategy and all. And that's because everything you do in a company actually affects the ability to price. And can I give you 2 examples?
I would love a couple examples, and then I will ask you about a use case I had this morning talking to prospective client.
Sounds good. This one company, it's they're in a very small industry, so I can't really describe them because it's a consumer goods. They only have like 6 competitors, and if any of the competitors hear me, they know exactly who I'm talking about.
No problem. We want
But
confidentiality.
anyway, it's a consumer goods company, and they came to us and they said, we tried to increase our prices 7 years ago, and it backfired badly. So we had to revert.
Right.
But now we really need to increase our prices. What do we do? Right. Well, we did our research, which is the kind of stuff that I do in my company. And we found that if they position themselves differently, if they use different marketing messages,
Yep.
there were plenty of room to increase in prices. And so they changed how they position themselves. They changed how the marketing messages they used. And in 1 week they changed the prices.
Yeah.
And in 1 week they went from a 200 to a $240 million company. And
Powerful.
that also included a slight increase in sales volume.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the amazing leverage, right? Where you don't increase your sales volume, but you increase your margin. That's a nice lever.
That's right. Another example. This is also a sort of a consumer goods. This is a chain of small change of coffee shops, and their whole marketing pitch was that our coffee is organic, it's sustainable growth, and we pay the people that harvest the coffee in South America or wherever you harvest coffee, well, high price, high wages and stuff like that. And what we found was that people don't care about that at all.
Yeah. And it's been the same story for 20 years. Nobody cares about that.
No, exactly. And so we told them that the marketing message that had the most impact on sales volume at slightly higher prices was, this coffee tastes better than the coffee I'm making myself. They changed again how they positioned themselves,
Yeah.
and doubled in size.
It's beautiful. The
So
simplicity of that is powerful.
yeah, and this is how to by understanding both these cases is about how understanding how the marketing affects willingness to pay and willingness to buy. There was no testing involved here, right? Because you had the answer from day one.
Right. No, it's beautiful.
So
The fundamental that I work with is it has to be a message about something that is impacting the end user.
yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
The rest of it's engineering.
And it's interesting though that if you look at this, like in this coffee chain company example, that whole organic piece and the sustainable is something that people wanted, but they were not willing to pay for it.
Sure.
Right. So it becomes one of those tick boxes, great, it's organic, great. I don't want to pay for it, but I want it.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
what they really wanted was the outcome of how great that particular coffee was in the minds of the buyer, right?
Yeah, and at least in the US, this kind of sustainable organic vein of products is there's lots of competition in that, so it's no longer a differentiator.
No, and this goes for a lot of things like a recent client of ours. They're a manufacturing company of sorts, and their whole pitch has been the quality.
Yeah,
But quality is assumed, and everybody's out there saying our quality is the best, and and so people want quality, that's for sure, but they're
sure.
not willing to pay for it. In
Right.
this particular case, what drove their customers to be willing to pay higher prices was delivery guarantees.
Sure.
And but the point is that they didn't want quick delivery. You know, they wanted guarantees that the delivery will happen when the company tells the customer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So it's yes, you can, as long as you deliver on the schedule that you promised me, I'm happy. And if you don't, I want some kind of compensation.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't need it tomorrow, right?
Because then I got to figure out where to warehouse it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and another also recent B2B customer, the strongest driver for purchases was that between the customer and the company there was an emotional bond with the sales rep,
Right.
driving twice the sales volume than all these other attributes of dealing with it, like delivery and quality and all these other things. So
Yeah, that puts
important.
it puts the company in a tight position when it's your salespeople, because then in some ways they hold the customer.
But you see how and what I'm always saying is that everything you do in a company affects your ability to price, including marketing, including your monetization strategy. I mean, imagine, I'll tell you a story from my company.
Yeah.
We and I've been my company been around for quite a while, and I started when I started it, I invited a guy and made him a minority shareholder, and he was supposed to do the sales.
Right.
And the odd thing was that we sold all over the place, but not locally in Los Angeles, right? And it was just later when I realized, because LA customers, you did in-person meetings, right? The other meetings were, if you remember, when you were actually having phone calls with people before Zoom.
I do.
And but the guy had an affinity for garlic. So he showed up in these sales meetings with customers thinking of garlic, and obviously they didn't want to do business with him.
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
So anyway, but you said you had a use case from this morning.
Yeah, so this prospect I was talking to is buying an existing gym in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Has had a lot of downward price momentum because of competition,
Mm-hmm.
and it's trying to figure out how to price it in a way that would cover the cost of buying the business, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
but without the ability to charge what initially what he
Yeah,
needs.
that's a very commoditized business,
Yep.
and the key is always to find ways of differentiate. And I don't have an answer on how they should differentiate, but
Sure.
it may be certain exercise programs that they can use, maybe different different something to add on to to the machines, to the tools they have, to the I'm sure they have personal trainers,
Right.
and so forth. So it is something to add to that commodity stuff, and it's and add in a way that somebody is not doing, or at least somebody locally is not doing,
Sure.
and monetize that in one way or another. But also when it comes to gyms, and he obviously want to find, like you said, find somebody where he can charge enough money so it helps him to pay for the cost of buying the company. There's only some 30% or so of gym memberships that are actually used.
Correct.
You buy a yearly membership on January 2 because you wake up with a terrible hangover and you said, I'm going to change my life. And then you go to the gym 3 times and then you forget about it.
Yep.
So what that, and you pay for the rest of the year. So what that means is that for this guy to find something enticing to get people to sign up, because 2/3 of them will not show up
Right.
after a few weeks, right? So and I'm thinking other things that could be. I can imagine, and I'm just thinking out loud here. I can imagine that there would be a portion of gym memberships members who would appreciate spa services,
Sure.
you know, and maybe other similar services like pedicure or manicure or those kinds of services, or massages, right?
Yeah. I appreciate that it would be we'd have to find these ICPs that would have different needs and then develop services around those in order to add incremental value.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something there. Maybe do the gym only for women,
Right.
you know, and obviously, I can find the answer to all of that, but the answer doesn't come from the top of my head. The real answer comes from doing the kind of research that we do.
And you talk about that process in your book.
I do, yes.
What's the net of the price whisperer?
Well, the net. Let me tell you the reason why we do what we do, and that may give you and the audience a hint of my philosophy, and that is that I ran a couple of companies in Europe before I moved here to the US, and I came here to establish and run a division for a fairly large public company, and then had another 4 CEO jobs before it was time for me to set out on my own. And we did experiments with pricing in all these instances, and some of those experiments were very, very successful, meaning that next quarter revenues are up 25% or so. Others were complete duds.
Yep.
And what I'd learned in business school about pricing was so academic and so theoretical that it didn't help us very much in understanding why some of those experiments worked and why others didn't. And by the way, I looked up one of my textbook on marketing from business school. It's a textbook. It's 450 pages or something like that. And it's I don't know what it's called, but it's sort of the marketing Bible. Pricing is covered in a page and a half.
I would assume your book is slightly longer than that.
Yeah, this is how it looks like. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but the point I was getting at is that we did experiments in these companies, and some were very successful. And when I when it was time for me to set out, I had come to the realization that everything you do in a company affects your ability to price.
Sure.
And that is a realization that is very unusual. And that is I mean, I just mentioned we said about a couple of clients here that could really elevate their company completely by understanding what marketing messages are more effective in driving willingness to buy and willingness to pay than others. And everybody says that, yeah, I understand that everything matters, and then they either do price testing without changing anything,
Right.
or they change different marketing messages, or testing different marketing messages, testing different marketing channels and so forth without changing anything else. Right. And the problem with testing is that, let's say if you're in a company and you want to test 8 different price points, you want to test 8 different marketing messages or positioning statements. You want to test 3 different marketing channels. You want to test 3 different ways of delivering your message. You want to test 6 different features, functions, or benefits to push more than others.
Yep.
You want to test 3 different sales methodologies in 3 different channels, and 2 different monetization options, and you end up with 36,000 or so combinations.
Yeah. Way too many variables.
Yeah, and that's my point.
Yeah, I get you.
And then obviously all of these tests needs to run for enough so that you can be confident that they have the that they actually make a difference. And that's why testing doesn't work. And I talk to so many people, and they say, "Oh, we've done some testing and it was inconclusive." Yeah, right.
Constantly is inconclusive. That's why you have to release the product and let the marketplace tell you.
That's right. Or do the kind of research I do, and then ask the marketplace
Yep.
in ways that allow you to drill deeper into the buyer's mind and really understand what the buyer care about. So
It's beautiful. I love it. How do people get in touch with you? They want to have a pricing conversation.
well, you see and the audience see that the Price Whisperer. That's really because I got a wacky name. Just Google the Price Whisperer and you'll find, obviously you'll find me, you'll find the book, you'll find my YouTube channel and all my writing, and I do a lot of that. So that's the easiest way.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time this afternoon, and we don't even have to talk about AI. That's so beautiful. This is a fundamental part of marketing.
Well, we didn't talk about AI, but I just a few notes on AI, and that is that unless you have a very strict rein on AI, it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, I love it. The net of this is that you've got to do this fundamental activity, and then you'll have an offer that will make sense for the marketplace.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Well, Emanuel, it was a pleasure to be on the show here, and I hope the audience got some nuggets of information they like.
All right. Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.